Disabled Tycoon's emotional surprise for his bride leaves millions in shock. The ballroom throbbed with hushed anticipation, the clinking of champagne flutes a nervous percussion against the backdrop of opulent chandeliers. Tonight, Harrison Sterling, a man who commanded a financial empire despite his blindness, a cruel legacy of a past tragedy, was to marry Hazel Carter. She was a woman seemingly plucked from a different galaxy, one far removed from the glittering constellations of his world. A visible ripple of speculation spread through the crowd, a chorus of silk and satin whispers. Why her? What could she possibly see in him? Sharp as shards of glass, cynical eyes dissected their every move, searching for ulterior motives and hidden agendas. Harrison stood rigid at the altar, his hand finding a reassuring anchor in the arm of his best man, Thomas. Though he couldn't see the assembled guests, he felt their judgment pressing against him, a stifling weight in the air. He inhaled deeply, the scent of lilies and expensive perfume doing little to calm the tremor in his hands. Then, he heard her. The soft rustle of fabric, the almost imperceptible click of heels on marble. Hazel. He straightened, a faint smile gracing his lips. Hazel walked down the aisle, her dress a quiet rebellion against the extravagance surrounding her. The altered vintage gown whispered of her resourcefulness and gentle spirit. Her gaze locked with Harrison's unseeing eyes, and a sense of calm washed over her. It was as if the murmuring crowd, the glittering lights, the weight of expectations, simply ceased to exist. As the vows began, Hazel's voice rang out in the room, a raw and powerful declaration that stole the cynicism from all those in attendance. But what was it that Harrison planned to do at the reception? What was his surprise? Before the darkness descended, Harrison Sterling had been a force of nature. A whirlwind of ambition and raw intellect, he had conquered the business world ruthlessly. He had the world at his feet, so it seemed. And then, in one blinding instant, it was all ripped away. A drunk driver, a mangled car, a life irrevocably shattered. He lost his sight, his fiancée, and nearly his will to live. The silence had been deafening. Confined to a world of echoes and shadows, Harrison had clawed his way back from the brink. He had retrained his senses, learning to navigate by the subtle shifts in air pressure, the resonance of voices, and the texture of surfaces beneath his fingertips. He built an empire, again, this time fueled by a different kind of fire, a burning desire to prove that disability was not a barrier, but a catalyst. He championed accessibility, investing in technologies that empowered others to overcome their limitations. Yet, behind the steely facade of the self-made tycoon, a profound loneliness gnawed at his soul. The scent of rose gardens could never be enjoyed, the sparkle of city lights never seen. Hazel Carter had grown up in a world painted in quieter hues. Her life had been a tapestry of simple joys and quiet sacrifices. Raised in a small town, she had shouldered the burden of supporting her family after the untimely death of her father. Art school had become a distant dream, replaced by the harsh realities of making ends meet. She encountered Harrison at a charity gala, a chance meeting that would alter the course of both their lives. She had volunteered to assist the visually impaired, and she was drawn to his kindness and sharp wit. Hazel saw past Harrison's wealth and the darkness that shrouded him, recognizing the vulnerability beneath the surface. She admired his resilience and his unwavering commitment to making a difference. Harrison, in turn, was captivated by Hazel's warmth, her genuine empathy, and her ability to find beauty in the simplest things. Her laughter was music to his ears, her touch a source of comfort and strength. To the world, they seemed an improbable pairing. But the connection, in all ways, was real. "Marry me, Hazel," Harrison had murmured one evening, his voice unusually gentle. They were sitting in his private garden, a sanctuary of fragrant blooms that Hazel had painstakingly helped him cultivate. The air hung heavy with the scent of roses and jasmine, a symphony of aromas that filled Harrison's senses. He could almost see the colors. Hazel had stiffened, her breath catching in her throat. She loved Harrison with a fierce, unwavering devotion. But marriage? It felt like a fairy tale, a dream too fragile to hold. "Harrison," she had whispered, her voice trembling, "are you sure?" Harrison reached out, his fingers delicately tracing the contours of her face. He lingered on her cheekbones, memorizing the shape of her jaw, the curve of her lips. I have never been more sure of anything in my life, Hazel. You are my light, my anchor, my everything. His touch ignited a spark within her, melting away her doubts and fears. She realized that she craved nothing more than to spend her life with this extraordinary man, to navigate the world together, hand in hand. Yes, Harrison, she breathed, tears blurring her vision. Yes, I will marry you. The announcement of their engagement unleashed a torrent of speculation and gossip. The tabloids savaged their relationship, portraying Hazel as a ruthless gold digger, preying on a vulnerable, disabled man. They questioned Harrison's judgment, suggesting that he was simply buying himself happiness, a beautiful trophy to mask his inner pain. There were headlines and talk shows dedicated to questioning their intentions. The scrutiny was relentless, a constant barrage of negativity that threatened to overwhelm them. Despite the judgment, they persevered. But Harrison was still intent on shocking the world with his upcoming announcement. The wedding preparations became a carefully orchestrated dance between two worlds. Hazel, determined to infuse their celebration with authenticity, insisted on being involved in every detail. She refused to let Harrison's wealth dictate the tone of the event. She chose wildflowers over orchids and handwritten invitations over engraved cards. She carefully refashioned her vintage wedding gown, adding personal touches that spoke to her unique style and her commitment to sustainability. Harrison, in turn, placed his complete trust in Hazel's vision. He knew that she possessed a rare gift for creating beauty and meaning, and he was content to let her lead the way. He focused on the logistics, ensuring that their guests were comfortable and that the event ran smoothly. He relied on Thomas's sight for all the finer details, knowing that the judgment of the world was ever present. As the wedding day drew closer, Hazel found herself battling a resurgence of self-doubt. She worried about her ability to navigate Harrison's complex social circles, about measuring up to the expectations of his wealthy and influential friends. She imagined their whispers, their appraising glances, their unspoken judgments. She confided her anxieties to Harrison one evening, her voice barely audible above the hum of the city. Harrison reached for her hand, his touch sending a surge of warmth through her veins. "Hazel, you are perfect, exactly as you are," he said, his voice filled with unwavering conviction. "I don't want you to change. I love you for your honesty, your kindness, and your unwavering spirit. Don't ever let anyone make you feel like you don't belong." His words washed over her, soothing her fears and reminding her of the profound connection they shared. She realized that she wasn't just marrying Harrison's name or his wealth, she was marrying his soul, his heart, his very essence. In the meantime, Harrison was meticulously orchestrating his surprise for Hazel. For months, he had been working in secrecy, fueled by a desire to honor her passion and make a tangible difference in the world. He had quietly established a charitable foundation in her name, dedicated to supporting the arts in underserved communities. He planned to unveil the foundation at their wedding reception, a gesture that would not only celebrate Hazel but also provide her with the resources to realize her lifelong dream of giving back. However, Harrison's most trusted advisor, Mr. Davies, vehemently opposed the idea. "Sir, I must implore you to reconsider," he cautioned, his voice laced with concern. "This is a substantial investment. Are you certain you wish to entrust such a considerable sum to someone with limited business experience?" Harrison's jaw tightened. "Hazel's heart is in the right place, Davies. That is more valuable than any MBA." Davies pressed on, his tone laced with thinly veiled disapproval. "But sir, the optics. The media will crucify her. They'll accuse her of manipulating you, of exploiting your generosity for personal gain." Harrison sighed, running a weary hand through his hair. "I am well aware of the risks, Davies. But I have absolute faith in Hazel's integrity. This foundation is not about vanity or self-promotion, it is about empowering artists and transforming communities." His decision was final. He planned to give Hazel everything. The wedding reception pulsed with energy, a kaleidoscope of laughter, music, and swirling gowns. The air was thick with the scent of champagne and anticipation. Hazel, glowing with happiness in her redesigned dress, moved through the crowd, greeting friends and family with genuine warmth. Harrison, guided by her gentle touch, remained close by her side, his presence a reassuring constant in the sea of unfamiliar voices. As the evening unfolded, Harrison signaled to the bandleader, requesting a specific melody. The music softened, a hush descending over the room. He took the microphone, his voice resonating with emotion. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, his voice catching slightly. "Tonight, as I celebrate the beginning of my life with the most remarkable woman I have ever known, I wish to share something deeply meaningful to both of us." He paused, turning to Hazel, his face illuminated by the soft glow of the candlelight. Hazel has always possessed an unwavering belief in the transformative power of art. She has dreamed of creating opportunities for artists from all backgrounds, of bringing beauty and inspiration to those who need it most. He continued, his voice swelling with pride, "Therefore, it gives me immense pleasure to announce the establishment of the Hazel Carter Foundation, dedicated to supporting artistic endeavors in underserved communities." A collective gasp swept through the room as the guests absorbed the magnitude of Harrison's gesture. Hazel's eyes widened in astonishment, tears streaming down her face. She had never imagined that Harrison would do something so incredibly generous, so deeply aligned with her values. Harrison turned to her, his touch tender and loving. "This is for you, Hazel," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "This is for your passion, your vision, your unwavering belief in the power of creativity." He then revealed that he had seeded the foundation with a staggering $50 million endowment. The room erupted in thunderous applause, a wave of admiration washing over the newly married couple. But amidst the jubilation, a shadow fell. Mr. Davies, his face ashen and drawn, approached Harrison, his voice barely audible above the din. "Sir," he murmured urgently, "we have a situation. A major lawsuit has been filed against the company, alleging widespread fraud and corruption. The potential financial repercussions are catastrophic." Harrison recoiled, his hand instinctively tightening on Hazel's arm. "What are you saying, Davies?" he demanded, his voice laced with disbelief. Davies explained that a former executive had leaked confidential documents to the press, exposing a web of unethical business practices and financial improprieties. The allegations, if proven true, could bankrupt the company, destroy Harrison's reputation, and jeopardize everything they had worked so hard to achieve. The festive atmosphere of the reception evaporated, replaced by a palpable sense of dread. Hazel watched in horror as Harrison's world began to unravel, the foundation, her lifelong dream, suddenly hanging precariously in the balance. Despite the devastating news, Harrison maintained a semblance of composure. He quietly excused himself and Hazel from the reception, retreating to a private study to assess the damage. He instructed Davies to assemble his legal team and launch a full-scale investigation into the allegations. Hazel, though reeling from the shock, remained a pillar of strength for Harrison. She knew that he was facing the greatest challenge of his life, and she was determined to stand by his side, no matter what. "Harrison, we will get through this," she said, her voice firm and resolute. "We will face this together, as a team." Harrison turned to her, his eyes filled with a mixture of gratitude and anguish. He realized that Hazel wasn't just his wife, she was his partner, his confidant, his anchor in the storm. In the weeks that followed, Harrison and his legal team worked tirelessly to defend themselves against the lawsuit. They sifted through mountains of documents, interviewed witnesses, and prepared a robust legal strategy. Hazel, meanwhile, immersed herself in the details of Harrison's business, determined to understand the complexities of the situation and offer her support in any way she could. She uncovered evidence of wrongdoing, instances where Harrison's trust had been betrayed and his authority abused. Hazel encouraged Harrison to confront the truth head-on, to acknowledge the company's failings, and to commit to implementing sweeping reforms. Harrison, humbled by Hazel's unwavering integrity, heeded her advice. He issued a public apology, accepting responsibility for the company's past mistakes. He pledged to institute new policies, to promote ethical conduct, and to prioritize transparency in all business dealings. The lawsuit dragged on for months, casting a long shadow over their lives. But Harrison and Hazel remained united, their love and commitment growing stronger in the face of adversity. Finally, after a protracted and emotionally draining trial, the court delivered its verdict. Harrison was found not guilty of the most serious charges, but the company was found liable for some instances of negligence and financial mismanagement. Harrison was ordered to pay a substantial fine and to implement a series of corrective measures. While the outcome was not a complete victory, it was a validation of Harrison's character and a testament to his willingness to accept responsibility for his company's actions. In the wake of the trial, Harrison and Hazel turned their attention to rebuilding their lives and their reputation. They reaffirmed their commitment to the Hazel Carter Foundation, using it as a force for good in the world. Harrison became a champion of corporate social responsibility, advocating for ethical business practices and sustainable development. Hazel channeled her passion into expanding the reach of the foundation, providing opportunities for artists from marginalized communities and promoting art education in underprivileged schools. Together, Harrison and Hazel demonstrated that true success lies not in the accumulation of wealth, but in the pursuit of purpose and the power of love to overcome adversity. The wedding surprise ended up being something that surprised Harrison more than anyone, but it strengthened the bond between himself and Hazel, thus showing the audience and his peers that their marriage was the real deal.